welcome to Obsession Engineering, and welcome to America! Eric really likes going driving, and we've kind of run out of roads in England and Northern Ireland for him to drive around in, so we've decided to come and drive around in America instead. So, Eric's been here a few days testing, I've just flown into Seattle, and we're on the road to Bonneville. So, it's 850 miles, we're in a rented transit van, and in probably too many hours, we're going to be somewhere flat and salty. So after Pike's Peak a couple of years ago, the trick was on to try and find a new adventure. So Eric's actually shipped his bike over here a few months ago in the hope he could squeeze in a couple of the Moto America rounds. But then with travel restrictions and we've not been able to do that. But he may be able to do some of those later. And interestingly, because of our national interest exemptions we had to get over here, this is definitely not a holiday. Officially, not a holiday. And because my visa doesn't allow work, it's definitely not work either. So it's either an adventure or it's a humanitarian aid mission. I'm not sure. Some of the stuff in America is a little bit bigger than it is back home. For example, this is Interstate I-84 East, and we've been on it for a few miles now, and we have, according to the sat-nav, only got 366 miles of this road to go before our next turning. So, yeah, buckle in. We're going to be here a while. So, me and Eric have been cruising along the interstate. We've done 450 miles, so about halfway. We've got slightly confused by the change of time zone because we didn't see the sign at the side of the road. We've had a hearty, proper American meal of meat in a bun, and now we've found a cheap hotel. It's time for a shower and some bed. Crack on tomorrow. Good night. We're back on the road again after an unnecessarily large breakfast because my pancakes needed a side of meat, and as Eric calls it, the sweetened meat breakfast. So we've got 350-400 miles to go to get down to the Salt Flats. So next stop, Utah. Admittedly today we've had some fairly boring roads across some fairly plain countryside to have a look at, but then every now and again there's a big hole in the floor and it's quite impressive to look at. You don't get this in Lincolnshire. We're about an hour from West Wendover where we're stopping for the Bonneville event, so we've done nearly 800 miles in the van, and we've decided to do a very short transit van review. Now this transit van is an American spec U-Haul, so it's got an automatic gearbox and it's got a 3.5 litre V6 petrol engine in it, which seems a little excessive if I'm honest. Eric's done probably nearly 2,000 miles in it now. I've been sat in the passenger seat for 800-ish miles. The passenger seat is comfy, and now we're going to do a yes-no quiz with Eric. So, Eric, is the driver's seat comfy?
Yes.
Is it fast?
No.
Can you fit a motorbike in the back?
Yes. 2 bikes in the yard if you're lucky.
Does the radio work anywhere in Nevada?
No.
Is it economical?
Definitely no.
And on that note, this has done 20 miles to the gallon since Eric picked it up, and we have not been breaking speed limits. I've actually worked it out that my 13-year-old diesel Renault Master, which is nearly twice the size of this, is actually cheaper to run at UK fuel prices than this van is at American fuel prices. So what we've learned from that is, don't buy a petrol van. What else is there?
Cup holders.
Cup holders. Has it got 8 cup holders, Eric?
Yes, but there's only 2 seats.
So we're going to need 4 cups of drink each. Well,
What would be the logic behind it?
We're going to be well hydrated, aren't we? That's about it, really, isn't it?
Yes.
So I suppose the question is, Eric, if you had $45,000 to spend on a van, would you buy a Transit Connect in America?
No, preferably a Mercedes diesel.
A yellow one with blue stripes over it?
Yes. Well, how do you know?
Good choice, Eric. Welcome back to Bonneville. Today is tech inspection and like newcomer briefing a bit day for Eric. So while he's struggling to get a bike out of van, I'm stood around enjoying the scenery. Two important things I've done so far. I've had breakfast and I've put a lot of sun cream on, because if you think you're going to get sunburned at the beach, come somewhere where everything's white. Right, I better give Eric a hand. I'll push the bike to tech inspection and then we'll go and have a look at some of the other really cool things that are here. So I've got the bike ready for tech inspection, or at least I think it's ready, but the regs are somewhat different to what we're used to. So we've got numbers on the front, and our side numbers are sort of down the bottom of the belly pan where we normally have them for our racing, but we've got to have a class marking on the bike as well. So we're in the 1000cc modified production street, and then I have no idea what that means, but we've just written it on there in marker pen because we haven't actually got any letters for it, and we're just hoping they don't mind the fact that our race number and our other number are in different places, because we've got no real room up there to put a race number, so we'll have to hope they're okay with that. We are one of the few bikes in the scrutiny queue with front brakes, because of course you don't really need them around here, so we might even take those off later. This is quite a strange scrutineering queue compared to what we're used to, because normally we'd go to the sort of meetings where everything sort of looks like this, but that does not look like our normal sort of thing, but it's very, very cool. So I'm going to have a quick run up and down the scrutineering queue and see if we can spot some interesting stuff. So this thing, there's a lot of very big pushrod V-twin air-cooled things here, many of which with turbos and bits on them, so that's really funky. I know almost nothing about it. A bit more my sort of cup of tea is Hayabusa. It's got some big pipe work on it, so it must be turboed, different swinging arm in it, a smaller fuel tank so you can get more tucked in, so that's pretty cool. Right, I particularly like this. So this is a 250cc single cylinder BMW from the, what sort of era is this? 1964. So I really like that. I think that would look really, really cool just riding around anywhere, really. So what are you hoping to get speed-wise with it?
Fast enough for a record.
That'll do. Right, this is a mate of ours who we met last night in the bar. This is Jay Allen's, one of his two bikes that he's running. So this is a quite heavily modified Harley with an S&S motor and a big fat turbo on it. So this thing should be okay for sort of 200 mile an hour with no fairing on sand. So that's fairly serious. And then I'll go and find his other bike in a minute. Right, here we're going something completely different. Big, long, low, with air-cooled 8-valve 750 motor. Air-cooled 8-valve 750? 650, okay then. 652, so... Oh, okay, yeah. So, what speed will this do? Do you run it with fairing as well, or is it only naked?
We'll be naked this time. We have a fairing built, but we're not going to run it this year. It's not perfect. We should, for gearing and what we're at, we should go about 135, 140.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right. This is Jay's other bike, his Streamliner. There is another big V-twin pushrod S&S or Harley motor or whatever in there. I will later actually find out what it is. Jay's been doing this for quite a long time. He is quite good, and I think he's got a few records to his name, so we'll collar him later and get the gossip. This is right my kind of cup of tea. This is a ZXR 250 from the early 90s. I think ZXR 400, but smaller and Japanese market only, I think. They rev...
Australia.
Oh, yeah. They rev to, what, 20,000?
18 change.
Yeah.
You can see in the tack here, it's all stock.
Yeah. 18,000 RPM, change gear, have another go, and only 3,500 kilometres from new. So, the nice thing with this is it actually looks immaculate and completely standard. What appears to be a Kawasaki H2 triple two-stroke engine in as minimal chassis as you can get away with, but it's really cool. All really nicely done. There is a lot of attention to detail on this bike. It's a lovely little thing, and it probably sounds like the devil having a party when it's running. Right, so I'm in the back of the truck with Jay and Dustin, and we've had just a little niggle at tech inspection with Eric's bike. It said in the rules that we had to have metal valves, tyre valves, which we thought was just the valve cap like we have to sometimes at road races, but it's not. The actual valve itself has to be metal, and so we've taken the wheels out of it, and while Eric's at his newcomer briefing, I'm having a little trip into town with these guys before the tyre ban hopefully closes to try and get these metal valves fitted. So, you know, only a minor catastrophe. The rest of the day's been pretty interesting, seen some real interesting bikes. Yeah, so I get to go in the back of the big lorry with these two boys who are legends around here. And yeah, so I'm in the back of here with Jay's two bikes. You know, a selection of tools and stuff and things. And hopefully none of them will have fallen over by the time we get back into Wendover. It's Sunday morning on the Salt Flats. We got the last of the jobs done yesterday for getting the bike through tech inspection, and we now have a tech inspection certificate, which is pretty cool. So down there, when I can focus on it. Right, so that's our Bonneville scrutineering sticker, so that's pretty good. We're in an AMA class for some record attempts, though I don't know what the records even are. We have to have an AMA sticker. We've got these attractive class stickers, so we're in the 1000cc modified production semi-streamlined normal gasoline, which is actually a race gasoline. It's just not like a nitrous or anything like that. A couple of other little jobs we had to get through tech. We've had to change our number boards because apparently the really big ones on the bottom of the belly pan you can't see. So they've been done. We've got to run the bike completely out of fuel so we can fill it up with control fuel, which is considerably better than the pump fuel that's already in it. Work that out. Yeah, I think it's about ready. Woohoo! Right, so you've had your newcomer briefing, your rider briefing, and it's not long now before we'll be going, you know, a couple of miles from the pits to get to the starting point. Nervous? Excited?
I don't normally get nervous. It'll be what will be. Excited, yes, definitely. It's a fantastic place. Awesome to be here. Typical racing paddock. Everybody's real friendly, and obviously the fact that we've come the whole way from the UK has generated a little bit of interest. So yeah, looking forward to it. Don't have no idea what to expect. The bike obviously has been clocked at 180.2 or something down Sulby Straight in 18. If we can achieve something around that on the Salt, or obviously we'll have a bit of play about with the gearing and suspension and see what we can do. But I think this class record on a fully streamlined nitrous BM is 220 plus, so we're not going to get anywhere near that. But again, it's all about life experiences, and this is definitely going to be one of them.
Right, so we'll just have a quick look at the bike that Eric's going to be riding. This is a TT Superstock bike, and while Eric's been over, he's been up to Ridge Park, one of the circuits over here, and done a bit of short circuit riding. So the bike is on slicks, on some Dunlops, which, you know, we guess will be alright on the Salt. Nobody seems to say they're not, so we'll go with that. Other than bits like the number boards and a different chain guard and bits, it is a short circuit race bike. So the oddity of riding on the Salt is that it doesn't make as much grip as tarmac will make, because the top layer of it just moves around all the time. So we're a little bit, you know, in no man's land with what we do with setup. Because at the moment what we're going to do is we're going to start pretty much on the setup that Eric ran short circuit, but then we have a few cunning plans. If the bike's a little bit lower, it should be more streamlined, so we might take some ride out the shock, might even drop the fork through a little bit to lower the bike down, but we'll see how we get on with that. We have got a bigger screen to try, because that one's fairly low, but that gives us a smaller frontal area if Eric can get tucked in enough. We might play around with tyre pressures, but as long as they stay intact, we don't really mind. We might open up the valving a little bit in the forks and shocks so it goes over the bumps a little bit, because even though they sort of grade the Salt, it isn't particularly smooth. So that's another thing for us to look at. But I think really it's send Eric down the run and see what it feels like. Thanks for watching, and join us again next time when Eric will put his leathers on and go for his first run down the Salt.